We do want to talk about CBDCs.
Oh, sure.
The antithesis of Bitcoin.
Yes.
The worst money that could ever exist.
Yeah.
I know you're worried about this.
I'm very worried about this. I think that, some of the things that have come out of the United States where we're like toying with research projects into CBDCs, and we have politicians saying we have to compete with China. I hope people know what that means. And in my mind, what that means is complete and utter financial surveillance, like forever. It is the absolute antithesis of Bitcoin. It's the absolute antithesis of the United States or Western, freedom as we know it. It's the ultimate financial surveillance. And I think that anytime someone hears the word CBDC, they should just think commie gobbledygook. Like it is the absolute end game for government surveillance over your life. And we're getting little brief pictures into this right now, even. And I know it's almost cliche at this point, even though it's only been a couple weeks, months, since the financial censorship in Canada, right, for the truckers, because they like to honk too much and kept people awake, that their lives were completely financially ruined through a rather difficult measure of shutting down the bank accounts for all the leaders involved, getting
people who donated.
And people who donated, yes. But that was actually kind of a complicated nuclear bomb for the Canadians to pull off, right? It would be trivial in a CBDC world where the central government I don't even think CBDCs are even going to do centralized blockchains. It's just a digital currency that is issued directly from the central bank. I think they would hope to do it directly to people where they have absolute visibility and control over the flow of funds. And right now, it's difficult for them to exert that type of control over people. Like Canada was a surprise. It's the first time we've seen it to that extent, right? Where literally financial censorship is how you ruin someone's life at the end of the day.
Well, this is where the US again needs to take the lead, because you really want the Canadian government to be thinking, do we want to follow the US lead or the Chinese lead with something like this? Because I think if you want to do a CBDC, if you want to compete with China, that's why you're doing a CBDC, or you're basically going to have to be better at surveillance, and you're going to have to be better
That's
at
the
control.
implication.
Yeah, you have to be better at it. If you want to compete with it, you've got to be better at it. Look at the soft influence China's had over the world over the last decade.
Oh,
right?
sure.
Because they're very good at surveillance and social credit scores and authoritarianism. So if you want to win that, you've got to be better at that. So you've got to have a better CBDC. You've got to be better at control. And the US won't be. It can't beat China at authoritarianism.
No.
Because you have freedoms here.
Supposedly.
So to beat them, you've got to be better at the opposite. You've got to have a better idea, which is freedom money.
Yeah.
So that's the fucking answer.
It's the same battle we've been having for 150 years around dictatorial control and communism and open market capitalism and Western freedoms, right? It's the same story. And when I hear we need to compete with China with CBDCs, or European Union needs to look into this, I just think just replace CBDC with communist rule, right? I know it's not literally the same thing, but that's the way people should be, processing this in their brains. And I would just say, again, another cliche is people complaining about cancel culture and stuff like that. I hate that it's already cliche, because I think it's real, right? And what I would ask people is, do you think over the next 5-10 years that's going to get better or worse?
Well, I think we know.
Yeah. And if it's going to be worse and the government has control to the level that a CBDC would allow them to have control, then you are ruined as an individual, completely ruined. And the only antidote to that is Bitcoin that I can think of.
Yeah, I'm with you. And one of the challenges I've found with it is communicating this to normies, especially my side of the pond.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder. I give you a great example. My Facebook now is really advertising for the podcast, right?
Yeah.
Here's a show, and a bit about the football. But I did start trying to share ideas from guests who come on
Oh
the show.
no, are you effort posting on Facebook now?
Just low effort.
Okay.
Just low effort, just to try and get people to around to the idea. I want to convert as many people to Bitcoin
Sure,
as
of course.
possible. And if anyone went back through my timeline, they would have seen I was pretty much sharing the general narrative with regards to inflation is coming, consider Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people would say, oh, okay, Pete was right. Pete wasn't right. The community was right. I shared it, but they would share that. I put out a thing about CBDCs saying, you want to be very careful about these. This is what it is. This is how they work. This is what it means for the government. My friend's mum blocked me. I can't remember what she put. She put something like, oh, I can't deal with any more of your conspiratorial nonsense, and then blocked me. I think a lot of people in the UK can be easily sold a CBDC.
I think so too. And it scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, but really easily. Oh, here's the benefits. Here's Britcoin, as Richie Sunak said. Here's Britcoin. Yeah, it's going to be centrally controlled. We can manage interest rates. Like we can issue benefits centrally. This is going to be great. And any of the people I know who are against it right now, the people based in the UK, they are considered nutters.
Yeah.
So for me, it's not whether we're right or wrong. It's like, how do we communicate this?
How do we, right? Like, how do you okay, I'm not trying to shit on people in the UK.
No, you can.
Like
By the way, but like,
if you don't understand the value of why individuals should own guns and why you should be skeptical of people who want to take guns away from you, right? Who also happen to have guns themselves, right? I think it's a similar line of logic to wondering why you would have anything to hide, in your financial life, right? Or like why you wouldn't want someone at a push of a button to be able to financially say, well, you can't spend your money anymore, or you can only spend it in this way at these institutions, right? It's a similar line of logic of paranoia that an individual would have to just say like, well, why would I cede that control over to you in the first place?
That's never, as a line of reasoning, I get it. But it's never going to work in the UK. We have no gun culture. We have no recent history of gun culture in the last
just stabby
centuries.
Knife culture.
Yeah, but that's really just gang culture. That's just gangs killing each other. We just don't have that culture.
So in what way
you would
in your hometown do people exert their individual liberties? Like what would matter to them? Like private property, obviously not guns. Is it voting rights? Is it, like what would they hold sacred that they have that the state can't take away from them?
It's almost like we don't really have a culture of thinking about that.
Really?
Yeah, we're a lot more. I think the things that are more sacred, strangely enough, Danny, correct me if you think I'm wrong here. We're sacred about the more socialist elements of society. Okay. The NHS is sacred in the UK, not with everyone, and certainly I would imagine if you could measure how popular it was, it has waned. Sure. It has dropped because medicine advances so much. It's become more and more expensive. It seems like a black hole of money that goes in, and the service has dropped. Wait times for ambulance is longer. Wait time for treatment is longer. It is an issue. Right?
I did notice that, I've been doing remote hiring since about 2012. My previous company, Stack Overflow, about half of our company was overseas. And in places with socialized medicine, UK, France, when we would hire people there, one of the main things they wanted was private insurance, health insurance, outside of their government.
Because they've never once experienced the situation where they can't phone up and get an ambulance or go to a doctor and get seen. They've never experienced that. And to come to a country where you might not have that is an issue. Oh,
no, I was saying the opposite.
Oh.
We had a lot of leverage with people in the UK and in France because when we would make them offers, we could get them private insurance. And they valued that way higher than any wage increases. Which is very interesting.
Yeah. No, sorry, I understand that. I thought you meant when they were coming here.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no. But the thing is, this is what makes me laugh about private insurance, right? I mean, either answer this generally or personally, but like, what's private healthcare? What's the cost of insurance here?
I have no idea.
But my assumption for
most people, $1,000 a month. It's expensive.
Okay, a few $1,000s a month, and then you've got your
Obamacare stuff.
No,
It's
no.
like,
You've got the deductible as well,
Yep.
right? Okay, I have private insurance for me and my 2 kids in the UK. We have the highest level of cover. We have seen next day cancer cover.
Yeah.
Right? It's brilliant. It's the best you can get.
how much does it cost?
I think it's about somewhere between 150 and 180 pound a month. Okay, I am still paying for the NHS.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I know the NHS subsidize part of it. I'm pretty sure they do, but at the same time, that's not a lot of money. And I've used it. I used it for my back operation.
Mm-hmm.
I would have had to wait God knows how long. I was seen within 3 days. I had my operation within 3 days of requesting it. You know, went into a private hospital and had it done. Doctors have a wait. I can go to a private medical center in Bedford. If Bedford High Street has it, most places has it. I can get a doctor's appointment. It's £50.
But this is only because you're on private insurance, right?
No. That is just, anyone can walk into that place
Okay.
and pay £50 for an appointment. My point being is people in the UK, they have private options that are very, very cheap.
Yeah.
Yes, it's probably subsidized, right?
Yeah.
By the NHS. But at the same time, they have that option.
Yep.
But I would say, when you say what do people hold sacred, I think we hold that we are, I think we hold this. People aren't going to like this here in America. We hold collectivist things as sacred.
Sure.
We hold the NHS as sacred. What do you think on that?
I mean, yeah, the NHS definitely is. I mean, when you talk about private property, I think that is as well. Like, I think people value that. I also think maybe it's not totally fair to say that people in the UK don't think critically like they do here, because that's not my
I didn't say that, though, did I?
But yeah, a little bit.
Well, how
Like you
did I
said
say
that like people aren't thinking critically about like a CBDC, but I mean, I know from my experience, like I even had my mum text me being like, this sounds scary, what is it?
Okay, interesting. I just haven't seen it myself. The one instance is of somebody,
Yeah.
and that's obviously not a statistically significant number.
Sure.
But the people I've seen talking about it on Twitter, British people, are the same people who fit in well here in Texas, right?
Yeah.
There's that people. Like,
Yeah. The Bavarians in Germany. Like
the
they
Bavarians
get
in
it.
Germany.
Yeah.
But I just think, I'm actually stumped when you say, what do we hold sacred? Because we don't have that history of freedom and liberty like you have here in Texas. So it's not something we hold sacred because we've never really had it.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like, I mean, certainly you had some of it, like feudal periods, where, very weak central government. Like, what do we know about the kings and queens of England? It's like,
We hold the queen sacred.
but I mean, when they actually had real power, what I at least know about it is that it was a really weak form of central government where if they stepped out of line, like, what do we know about them? They all get murdered. Like, they all get murdered, or people don't help them out. They don't, come to arms when they're needed. But like, when I think about this, like, I think it's very easy for people to get duped into thinking that it's the exact same affinity scam with altcoins, where they try to cuddle up to Bitcoin and say, oh, we're just like that. We're just like Bitcoin. We're just a little bit different, over here, but we're basically the same. And a lot of people fall for that. VCs all over the United States fall for that every single day. Is that when people talk about CBDCs, they're going to talk about it in Bitcoin terms, as a digital currency, they're not going to say decentralized, but they are going to try to compare it to Bitcoin and get the reputation that Bitcoin has as being innovative and groundbreaking, and apply it to themselves and say, but we just tweaked a few things, when in reality they tweaked everything, right? And where everything means that there's no such thing as censorship resistance. In fact, the whole point of it is censorship, right? It couldn't be more opposite than the pitch that Bitcoin makes. Yet it's going to be pitched to the public as Bitcoin was this great invention, but it has these flaws and we fixed them, when really they've just taken the entire value proposition away. I don't know if that's a too simplistic way to put it.
No, I completely agree with you.
Yeah. And I worry because I get calls from hedge fund managers who are like, oh, well, I heard that, the US is working on a Bitcoin of their own. And it's like, these are smart people. And I find it to be very worrying that through technobabble and false comparisons, that people could be lulled into what I would see as the greatest disaster for liberty and personal freedom that certainly of my lifetime, anything I can think of.